Samit Ghosh, MD and CEO of Ujjivan Small Finance Bank, joining us this morning. Mr. Ghosh, good to have you with us. We've seen, a fairly strong consolidated profit growth this time. Net interest income has also been strong. Talk to us about what's led to that profitability and what have been the key drivers.
So, this quarter's earnings and performance is consistent with our, performance from the last quarter, because for last 2 years, actually, we've been investing very heavily on the small finance bank in the infrastructure we built up, and in terms of people, etc. But now the business has started scaling up, from the last 2 quarters, which was as planned. And also we have controlled a lot of our costs. So that is, the result has been all the businesses have shown very good growth. And along with that, the cost measures which we have taken has shown, a very good bottom line. In this quarter, of course, we have the income from the, which is one time, priority sector lending, certificates which we sell, which we do every quarter, but that's a big number which has come into this quarter, the PSLC income.
Okay, now the Q1 disbursement growth as well, has been strong, nearly 41% year on year. Do you see slower disbursement growth, however, going ahead, given the kind of tough environment we're in?
Well, so far we've not seen that. Our microfinance portfolio actually grew by about 37%. And both our MSME and housing, affordable housing has been growing substantially higher. So we've not seen any impact of the slowdown yet, but given the current environment, which we hear about, maybe it is going to have an impact with us in the next few quarters, especially, people start losing jobs, etc. But our segment is more or less somewhat immune to all these changes. But definitely, if people lose jobs, etc., and that's still not started happening, but it may come across. So we will actually proceed with caution in the future.
Okay, so is there a kind of AUM growth that you could guide us with for FY20? And how is it that you see the mix between microfinance and non-microfinance book shape up?
So I think, our growth will be as per what we have already indicated in the past, both for the microfinance and the non-microfinance sector. And one of the healthy things which has happened in this quarter also is the non-microfinance sector accounts for about 18% of our total portfolio, which was 9% earlier. So the microfinance portfolio, even though it's growing at a very healthy rate, it's coming down in our overall proportion of our assets. But we will deliver as per our earlier commitment for the full year.
If we are looking at the small finance bank margin, there is a dip of close to around 30 basis point YOY. Also, given that the probability that you would need to keep high deposit rates to attract deposits, where are the margins going to sustain?
So the thing is, our NIM is still very attractive, for the bank. And that's largely because of the high NIM we enjoy in the microbanking, the microfinance sector. But as the proportion of our portfolio reduces, in terms of microbanking and the MSC and housing, that's a natural phenomena where our NIMs will start coming down. But still, it's a very healthy, healthy NIM which we enjoy right now.
If we look at your asset quality, it's done fairly well despite Odisha flood, despite slowdown. Do you see the asset quality sustainable given that you're seeing risk to a slowdown in the economy?
Yeah, as far as our portfolio quality is concerned, it is still excellent. We were slightly impacted because of the Fani, cyclone in Odisha, where 11 of our branches were there, and couple of those branches, we have actually, provided relief to those, Fani victims. But otherwise, our portfolio is doing excellent. So far, we don't see any issues going forward. But given the way economy is going, we will keep a close watch in that area.
Okay, the media has also reported that Ujjivan has hired bankers for up to 10,000 crores, the IPO. Give us some more details in terms of how you plan to comply with the RBI norms for listing. Like, when do we see the IPO and the quantum as well? Lots of details. Anything you can share with us?
So, we've been working on this for over a year. Initially, we had both Equitas and us had joint dialogues with the RBI because we really wanted to avoid this whole issue of two listed companies, for one business. Unfortunately, that didn't go through, and RBI finally decided that we have to comply with the condition, which was a licensing condition of listing the bank also. So after that, we've explored many different avenues, various schemes, also looking at different listing platforms, etc. Frankly, none of them, sort of fructified. But as you know, Equitas has, applied for the scheme, so we are keeping an eye on that. And we've also developed a similar program. So if that goes through, then we may also follow with a scheme. But given the fact that it hasn't seen the light of the day for a long time, we have also made sure that we prepare for an IPO for a minimum amount of required listing, which would be around 10% of the capital, so that we are able to comply with the RBI's requirement before January 1st next year, 31st next year. So we are intent on, making sure that we comply with the RBI condition of listing well within the time. And we will be looking at what happens to Equitas. I think their deadline is September, though they've requested an extension, as I understand. But we will wait for the first week of September, and if that's not doesn't come through anything concrete in terms of approvals, etc., regulatory approvals for their scheme, then we are fully prepared in terms of doing an IPO of a minimum lot of about 10%. We'll also, obviously, we will make sure that the holding company shareholders are also able to participate at all the different levels when we do an IPO for the bank. So that will at least help them tide over any kind of negative impact which might come on the valuation of the holding company shares. So we are sort of walking the tightrope on that, but we are determined that we will meet the RBI's cutoff of 31st January, and if we have to do the IPO, we are fully prepared for it.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. So that's on the IPO. Let's also, get your take on whether we could possibly see a dual listing of both Ujjivan Small Finance as well as a current listed entity of Ujjivan Financial.
Yeah. The holding company will continue to exist. That's already listed. And the other thing is, within the SFB guidelines, there is a sort of provision that at the end of 5 years, we could reverse merge the bank, the holding company and the bank, and make one entity. So that is something which we've been in discussion with RBI. they've kept the door open for that, and that is specifically only for small finance bank and not any other types of institutions. So, we will, once we list the bank, we will then be working with the RBI to make sure that we are able to reverse merge at the end of 5 years. What they've told us is that they cannot give us a categorical yes that we will be able to reverse merge right now, but they will favorably look at it, closer to the 5-year period. So we have to make sure that we are in total compliance of RBI regulations during this period, and hopefully we are very hopeful that possibly we would then get the approval for reverse merger. So that will remove this entire problem, and our shareholders of the holding company will benefit from that. But that is still that is something which we have to take it up with RBI closer to the 5-year period. But they've left the door open for that.
When we just talk, there has been clearly a huge value erosion due to the small finance bank regulatory norms for entities like you, Equitas. What is the kind of investor feedback you're gathering when you meet them regarding the structure going ahead?
So, obviously this whole issue of, two entities being listed is not favorably looked at by the investors, and one of the entity obviously can start losing value. But if there is clarity that the end of 5-year period or a 6-year period, whatever the Reserve Bank decides, if they would permit the two entities to reverse merge, that will be a very acceptable to the investors. So what we've done is we also had discussions with the RBI, because as you know, the small finance bank, the RBI is very happy with the way small finance banks have performed, and they are putting small finance bank licenses on tap, and they are going to come up with a revised set of guidelines this month for the new banks which will come under small finance bank, and they've taken our feedback on this issue, and they are very open to clarifying the matter on this. So we are waiting to see what comes out on the revised guidelines in August.
Okay.
But actually, if you see, in the last, the erosion of value in the last few days of weeks have been largely because of the whole stock market, going down. And that's one of the reasons why, our stocks have moved down along with it.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time for us. Just as we are ending the discussion with Ujjivan Small Finance Bank, some flashes coming in.